In this video, I'm going to show you the correct way to install Hardie Backerboard. I'm going to follow the manufacturer's instructions, and I'm going to give you some tips to make it an easy job, and you'll be ready to lay tile. I usually start in the back corner of a room, and then I work my way out. You don't want your backerboard and your subfloor joints to line up, so take that into consideration when you're deciding which corner you want to start in. You'll also want to stagger the actual backerboard joints. I cut and lay out the entire room before I attach it to the subfloor. Measure to find the center of any registers you cover up, and then mark that point on the backerboard after it's in place. The easiest way to get a perfect hole around a register is with a hammer. Just make sure that you clean the register out because it gets pretty messy. Leave a little space between the backerboard and the wall. The best way to cut backerboard is with cement board shears, but they're pretty expensive, so if you aren't doing a lot, the cheaper option is scoring and snapping, kind of like how you cut drywall. Just be sure to get an actual scoring blade rather than a normal razor blade to make it a lot easier and a lot safer. You'll lay the board flat on the ground and score it using a level or a drywall T-square, and then you'll pull one end up to snap it. Another option is using a grinder, but you would have to do it outside and wear a respirator. It gets very messy and you do not want silica dust filling your lungs. When you're cutting out a toilet flange, find the center and then use something round a little bit bigger than the flange to mark your circle. And then I use my favorite cutting method, my hammer and my bucket. I usually fill doorways with smaller strips rather than trying to notch out a full board. Just be sure to keep your strips at least 2 inches wide. If your tile is ending at a door, stop the backerboard halfway under the door. When you're done laying out the room, it's time to begin fastening it. You can use roofing nails or cement board screws. If you're using Hardie brand backerboard, you can use any type of tile mortar. It doesn't have to be modified with additives to help it stick to the floor. You're basically using the mortar to create a solid backing, and then the nails and screws are going to attach it to the subfloor. You're not relying on the mortar to stick it. But some brands do require you to use mortar with additives, so just be sure to follow their recommendations. I'm using this liquid additive instead of water only because I have a ton of jugs of this stuff and I'm just trying to get rid of it. Different mortars have different mixing requirements, so be sure to follow the directions on the bag And don't be afraid to mix a lot when you're doing this because it goes fast. You'll use a 1/4 inch notch trowel to apply the mortar. Make sure the grooves in the mortar are straight lines and not swirls. Swirls are going to prevent the air from getting out when you set the board, and they can cause voids. I use roofing nails for the majority of the board, and then I add screws in the corners just to make sure it's nice and tight. The last thing you need to do is apply cement board tape to all the joints and set it with a thin coat of mortar. Skipping this step creates a weak point along those joints and can cause your tile to crack over time. It's now ready to lay tile, and you can check out my video on how to do that. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for detailed videos on every part of home construction and renovation. And if you have any tips or advice, leave it in the comments, and thanks for watching.